welcome back to another edition of Theatre of Speed, where we talk all things Formula One, and starting with the Monaco Grand Prix, except if you are Max Verstappen, Sam, you don't start very well at all.
No, and did Max miss one hell of a race or what? Who says Monaco's boring? There may not have been many passes on track, but it certainly wasn't a boring race.
It wasn't boring if you like penalties. Penalties. Everybody gets a penalty, it seemed like, with this race. What is up with that?
I went out and made myself a coffee mid-race and ran back to the kitchen to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I got a 5-second penalty. So,
Well,
so were they penalties? Were they not penalties? There's still some controversy about that pit lane speed limiter sensor. What was it? Was it the problem that the sensors were wrong? Was it a problem that the cars were cutting from the slow lane to the fast lane, or the fast lane to the slow lane, and cutting the corner, and that the distance was just slowed down? But they were still, a lot of drivers were penalised. 6, I think, in total, if I'm not wrong, Ben.
I think it's about that. I haven't. There's too many for me to keep track of throughout the race. Sort of going, oh, now who has a penalty now? Which lap is it? It was crazy. Interesting, obviously, post race now. So Alpine were, shall we call it, and particularly Pierre Gasly was pissed at the fact that he had been given a couple of penalties. And Alpine obviously did the right of appeal, and they have been successful. So Pierre Gasly now goes back into third place, and so there's now that sort of follow-on from that, where other teams are now going, well, hang on, if they got theirs overturned, maybe we'll do the same. So we have to wait and see how that is all going to play out.
Yeah,
with the final result.
At time of recording right now, the appeal of the appeal is happening, so we might know the result of the Catalonia Grand Prix before we know the result of the Monaco Grand Prix at this point.
That is absolutely true. One thing is for certain, though, the Antonelli train continues on. We are talking 5 race wins now. 5 race wins. For old buggers like us, all I can say is, like, it seems like the kid can do no wrong, because I feel like if there's a place that you are where the pressure might get to you, it's gonna be Monaco. It's happened with so many greats before, yet kept a cool head through the race, including the restart.
Look, I'm gonna have to backtrack on my comments last episode at the Montreal Grand Prix. I made a point where I thought Kimi was starting to lose his head, getting a bit aggro on the radio, and my goodness, did he put me to shame or what? I have not seen a cooler head in a race from Kimi than he did in this race. You're right, the restart, he nailed. The first start, he nailed. At no point did he look like he was going to crack. George, on the other hand, he had an absolute mare of a race.
Yeah, it feels like that there's that shift that's happened in the Mercedes garage from sort of, George is the cool, calm, collected customer. I'll go ahead and I'll be Mr. Experienced and get the results and be consistent. And it's shifted. I feel like there's a shift over to Kimi's side, where people are, including yourself, taking him seriously now.
Yeah, George has really flipped. He's lost his cool. He's gone it's gone the other way. It's completely flipped. And he had the one penalty. He almost had a second penalty of the pit lane line, which I'm surprised he got away with. That was a very, very close call as well. And then obviously there was the absolute farce of the non-serving of the penalty in the pit stop, although that's more of a team thing than a George thing. George...
But he did ask the question, though. That's the thing. George did ask the question. He said, I waited a long time in the pit lane. Have we served the penalty? And I thought, surely as a driver, because it's not like he hasn't had penalties. I think most of the drivers have had penalties before that they've had to serve at a pit stop. Surely you would know as a driver, oh, we haven't served the penalty. And, I do agree. I think it's up to the team, but I found that very strange.
Yeah, there was a hesitation. I think just before he left the pits, I think he knew the answer to that question, but he asked the question anyway. But he's George is starting to lose his head, and there was a quote after the race saying, complaining that the punishment didn't fit the crime. I'm a little sick of George whining and whinging when something doesn't go his way, when he's the first one on the radio. As soon as someone steps the slightest bit out of line, trying to get a penalty out of them, mate, George, just race, get your pace back, because currently you're the number 2 driver in the team.
I think you're right. Yeah, as I say, that shift that's happened. Yeah, he's very much losing that status of the number 1 driver in the team very, very quickly, and it doesn't seem like that. That his ups and downs are gonna abate anytime soon.
Yes, he needs to get it together.
Yeah. Really good race for Racing Bulls. Both cars scoring points. Do you think that was track specific, or do you think that there's been some progress made by the Racing Bulls?
Well, I'm not sure, Ben, but according to the ADUO system, which is the Additional Development and Upgrade Opportunities, I definitely have to read that, I can't remember that, the Red Bull power unit is the best engine according to them, and they will receive no upgrades in the whole upgraded engine system thing that's happening as well. So, but yes, Isaac Hadjar obviously kind of got 4th, then got 3rd, then got 4th, but that was very well. And Lawson, I think 5th or 6th, I can't remember now with the updated standings. But it was a very strong showing by VCAR.
Yeah, so the Racing Bulls now with the updated current points as it is, Liam Lawson 6th and Arvid Lindblad 7th for the Racing Bulls, and Hadjar 4th.
Yes, sorry, I said Hadjar. I keep thinking he's still in VCAR.
Well, there you go. That's okay. Easy mistake to make. And cheering from Spain could be heard all over the world as Fernando Alonso scores Aston Martin's first point of 2026. Probably more through attrition than anything else.
Yes, attrition and penalties. That's how Fernando got Aston Martin's first point for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if we turn quickly to the bingo cards, I believe that we can actually probably now, for the first time, tick off a bingo card thing for you, Sam, because we did have 4 retirements for mechanical issues.
Yes.
In this race, I was checking them through as I do every race and going, we're at 4. So there weren't too many. I mean, obviously we had the 2 crashes. We had Lance Stroll and Charles Leclerc with the breakup of the track.
Now, Ben, is that was it the track, or was it engine braking, or the brakes on the Ferrari? I'm not sure what's to blame, and I'm not sure even after the track breakup what the drivers still put the problems down to, whether it was mechanical or whether it was the track breakup.
It seemed they certainly went with track breakup, and Charles Leclerc may have been obviously initially incorrect in thinking that it was he had a braking issue where it wasn't. It was sort of like track breakup on the tyres. It certainly has caused a little bit of friction between Brembo and have them having to put out a statement about their brakes and that they back their brakes, and we haven't really heard anything from Charles so far. So
it's not the kind of thing your manufacturer wants you kind of to say in public.
No, it definitely isn't.
And keeping the Aston Martin train, Lance Stroll, a special shout out has to go out to Lance to going back to the penalties to receive a track limits penalty on a circuit almost entirely enclosed by walls.
The irony, it's sort of like the irony, it's Monaco. There's basically barriers everywhere. How can you get a track limit
Is it
violation?
just the chicane? Is that the only spot you could possibly even do track limits? Is there any other spot?
I think it probably is. Yeah, coming out
or
of
maybe
coming
cutting
out of the tunnel.
Sandoval off, perhaps.
Yeah, potentially, but I certainly didn't see. I'm sure that the cameras, because there wasn't much else happening on track, from a passing point of view, would have picked that up. You would have thought if he'd gone straight through at Sandoval. but definitely didn't see it. But what on Lance Stroll for taking that gong for the year. That's going to be, I think, one of the strangest track limit violations that we will see in 2026.
There was one more penalty I think the FIA missed, personally, in the race. Of all the penalties, I think they did miss one penalty. And that's for car 44, Lewis Hamilton, ignoring red flags when it comes to Kim Kardashian.
oh gosh, you're just unleashing now, and I love this because, towelgate, huh? Towelgate is now a thing.
Kimmy's still looking for his towel.
Yeah. So Kim K took the towel, and Kimmy Antonelli is still looking for his towel.
It must have had Kimmy on it, and she thought it was hers.
Yeah. I think that's karma for ignoring Martin Brundle during the grid walk. Personally. If there's one thing you do not do, you do not ignore Martin Brundle during a grid walk.
No, you don't. One penalty I thought was very, very harsh was to Nico Hülkenberg. He got the penalty for causing a collision that I think was unavoidable for him. It was the start of the restart. I think that should have been treated essentially like a lap one accident, racing incident. If anything, Carlos cut in out the exit of the hairpin. And if anyone else is to blame, it's George Russell for completely backing the pack up in that restart. I think out of the three, I think Nico was the least at fault for that, and I think it was very harshly done for that penalty for causing a collision.
Yeah, interesting. Difficult one to judge, I think. I guess there is the train of thought, the train that George created, but that train of thought that he could have waited and chosen a better place. But obviously, they're racing drivers, they're opportunists. They're going to take whatever opportunity that comes their way. And yeah, considering it was lap one of the restart, then I think, I think it probably is a bit harsh. But I've got to say, well done to the FIA, or obviously the clerk of the course, for going, we're going to have a standing start. I thought we were going to have a safety car start because it's Monaco, but we didn't. We had a standing start, and I was like, hooray.
Yeah.
It made it interesting.
Definitely. I'm not a fan of the rolling starts unless there's a reason, perhaps weather, but it needs to go back to a standing start for sure.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Give us the old standing starts, please. We love them. We love the chaos, even when there's no chaos because it's Monaco, and there has to be an argument now.
It was a different kind of race from Monaco, though. I mean, you didn't get that train of the car sort of up the front holding the entire pack up. It did spread out, and it really became. It's always a pit strategy race, but it became a different kind of pit strategy race because. You got Lewis in there.
It became a pit strategy race of don't get a penalty while you come in the pits.
it was that, yes. Yeah. But for example, Ferrari pitted Lewis when Kimi was coming up to some lap cars to try to get the overcut or the undercut. There was plan to do that. There was which this one did happen last year with the Williams using team orders to slow the pack up and get the other car in front. And I think it may have worked out for them if it wasn't for that restart with Carlos that we just spoke about. But there was even the moment when Bernie Collins called it literally before it happened, when Lewis had the 5-second penalty, and they were like, well, if there's a safety car right now, Charles is going to have a 5-second penalty because he's going to be double stacking. And then moments later, probably within 30 seconds to a minute later, that's exactly what happened. That's when Lance went into the wall. And Ferrari had to double stack, and they made it work, but they're lucky that they made it work. My question for you, Benny, is Lewis served the penalty. Were they going to give that spot back to Charles or not?
I don't think so because they're not under papaya rules. And I also think that no. It's Ferrari.
But then make them race.
You never know what strategies they're pulling out from everywhere.
Yeah, because let Charles race Lewis to get in front of him, so he doesn't have to. It essentially was team orders to have him wait and stack, and so I think having to force him to wait, I think it's almost granted that he should have jumped Lewis, and who knows what might have happened. And kind of that's when that restart when Charles hit the wall. But I think Charles was a bit hard done by there.
Yeah, it's potential that he was, but again, sometimes I sort of think, well, that's the hand that you are given. Is the unpredictability of safety cars, and particularly in a place like Monaco. A point that I wanted to bring up, that I was starting to bring up before, was about Monaco itself. I love Monaco. Look, when it comes up to Monaco Grand Prix weekend, it's exciting. It's you want to watch it, and I have loved it for the many years that I have been following Formula One. But I think I am almost at the point where I have to ask the question: Monaco Grand Prix. We're in an era where they're trying to improve the racing. They have improved the racing this year. We have loved talking about all the Grand Prix this year and the overtakes. Has Monaco had its day?
I'm going to say no. I think in the current era of cars, yes. But we've seen other series. I've said it before. Even the Formula 2 and Formula 3, but even the Formula E's, they can race on Monaco, and they have great racing. So it's literally down to the size of the cars. And even, I think I saw recently, maybe even today, Hamid bin Sulayem said that he wanted to reduce the weight of the cars. Reduce the size of the cars. The size of the cars is the problem. You look at the size back in the day, not even that long ago, they were so much smaller in length. And that's the main problem. The car's just too big. Make them smaller.
Okay, but I'm going to bring up a prime example when the cars were much smaller, and yet the overtakes were still an issue. It made for good watching because there was a really good battle with regards to people trying to overtake, which we kind of saw people trying to or thinking about it. 1992, it was the battle between Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell, and Nigel Mansell had pitted, was on much fresher tyres than Ayrton Senna. Ayrton Senna, however, had track position, was in first, and Nigel Mansell, no matter what he tried, could not get around Ayrton Senna. Now, you can attribute part of that absolutely to Ayrton Senna and how brilliantly he drives, particularly around Monaco. But, again, does the same point apply?
I mean, you're scratching my memory part of my brain there. So Ayrton Senna's always going to be. He was the king of Monaco, so he's always going to be hard to pass. I can't say in terms of a engine difference or a car performance difference if Senna had a more of an advantage to be at. But yeah, that comes down to driver skill then. So it's not the size of the cars; it's down to driver skill, which I'd rather see. If it still happens that way, it may still happen that way. It's what Monaco's always been. But if it comes down to driver skill as opposed to just being able to block because your car's too big, then I'll take the battle any day.
Yeah, I wish that they had straight mode. I'm still perplexed by the decision to not have straight mode. I'm not sure if it took away or not from what could have been, but I just think. Give us a dose of. If you're on the the front straight and you've got a dose of overtake mode and you've got your straight mode, so you've got your wings open, or flipped around or whatever. I think it could have helped. That's just something that I thought of as the race went on.
Yeah, it may have, and maybe they might try that again next year and see what happens. Who knows? I'm not exactly sure, but the reason why they actually. Didn't do the straight mode. Was it a safety issue or was it a racing issue? I'm not actually sure the reasoning.
Yeah, very strange. I just thought the decision, no matter what, was quite strange. So, so let us know what you think in the comments in regards to the Monaco Grand Prix. Is it still relevant? Is it not? Should they have had straight mode? Should they not? Let us know what you think. We would love to hear from you. And join us again as we discuss the greatest stage of motorsport, Formula One, the true theatre of speed.